The physical credit card is, without a doubt, the most antiquated piece of financial technology that we're still using today. Right up there with fax machines and printed boarding passes in terms of tech that has survived well beyond its shelf life. They're insecure, they're prone to fraud, and the core design hasn't even been changed since the 1960s.
This is the sweep of the future.
Even a debit card requires you to know a PIN code to use, but not a credit card, no sir. They print that beautiful security code right on the back of the card for anybody to steal. I mean, just why? Thankfully, things are starting to change, not because of banks or credit card companies, which ironically are the slowest institutions to adopt any kind of extra security, but because of big tech and fintech companies. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through 3 tech-forward solutions that will have you trading in your physical credit card for a more secure, feature-rich payment experience. Welcome to All Things Secured, where we cover practical ways that we can improve privacy and security in our daily lives. Credit cards are just the tip of the iceberg. There is so much more to learn, so make sure you subscribe here or get actionable tips sent to your inbox every week when you join the email newsletter. Chances are you keep a credit card in your wallet and make a transaction on that account at least a few times a week. You're not doing anything wrong, by the way. I still have a physical credit card, even though I rarely pull it out anymore. What's interesting to me is that most other parts of the world have skipped credit cards altogether in favor of payment via QR code, which was a lot easier to implement than physical cards. And now there's this move toward payment via biometrics, where you simply scan your face or your palm to execute payment. China and Korea are already doing this, and no matter what you think about it in terms of privacy implications, it will eventually make its way to the Western world. That's a pretty big leap from credit card to face scan though, so in the meantime, it's worth looking at 3 levels of secure payment that you can start using today. And the first level is something you've probably used before. Now, most people think tap to pay is just about convenience. You tap your phone and the payment goes through faster. That's true, but the real benefit is actually security. When you use tap to pay with something like Apple Pay or Google Wallet, your actual credit card number is never shared with the merchant. Instead, your phone creates a token, which is basically a temporary stand-in for your card number that only works for that specific device for that specific transaction. So even if the merchant system gets hacked, the attackers don't have free access to spend whatever they want on your credit card account. That alone is a massive improvement over the traditional system where every store you shop at gets the exact same permanent number tied to your account. But there's another advantage too. When you pay with your phone or smartwatch, the transaction usually requires biometric authentication. That could be Face ID, fingerprint, something that proves it's actually you making the purchase. That doesn't exist with a physical credit card. So instead of security that relies on a number printed on the back of the card, you're now using biometrics plus tokenization. The problem is that tap to pay isn't universally accepted yet. I mean, a lot of big box retailers still don't support it. Most hotels and car rental companies want a physical card for verification. And then online services like Netflix or Disney Plus, you can't just tap your phone to your laptop screen to pay. Which brings us to the second level of payment security, virtual card numbers. A lot of banks are starting to experiment with this, and Apple actually does a pretty good job with their Apple Card. If you open the Apple Card in the Wallet app, you'll notice something interesting. There is a separate virtual card number that's different from the number tied to Apple Pay. And even better, the security code on that virtual card can rotate periodically if you turn on advanced fraud protection, which I recommend you do if you use the Apple Card. This is the kind of security feature that credit card companies should have implemented years ago. Instead, a large chunk of the card fees that you and I pay cover all the fraudulent charges, and the new credit cards get sent to us whenever there is a fraudulent charge. Some banks, including Capital One, Citi, and Bank of America, have their own virtual card offering, which is basically a single extra number attached to your account. You might be able to regenerate it occasionally, but you don't have much control beyond that. Control is really the biggest limitation for these bank and Apple provided cards, which is why the third option is, in my opinion, where things really are headed. True virtual cards. Instead of having one permanent credit card number tied to your entire financial life, you could create separate card numbers for individual merchants. I promise you, it's not as complicated as it sounds. For example, you could create one card just for Netflix, another one for Amazon, one for your gym membership, and so on. Each card only works with the specific merchant you assign them to, so that a stolen card number is basically useless. If Netflix ever gets breached, that card number can't be used anywhere else. Even better, most virtual card platforms let you set rules. As you can see in this privacy.com example, I have the option to create 4 different types of cards: single use, merchant locked, category locked, and mobile wallet cards. If I decide to create a specific virtual card for Uber, I can then go in and set a spend limit on a per transaction, monthly, yearly, or even just a total amount basis. So instead of calling your bank and canceling your entire credit card because one merchant got hacked, you can go in and just pause or delete that single virtual card and move on with your day. Privacy.com is one of the biggest players in the market right now, but there are others like Clutch and MySudo that offer similar cards. And honestly, I think this is the direction the industry should have moved toward years ago. But there is a reason that banks have been slow to adopt this. A permanent credit card number makes spending frictionless. And frictionless spending means more transactions, which means more fees for the bank and card networks. Virtual cards give you more control, which is exactly why fintech companies have been the ones pushing this forward and not the banks. So what should you actually do with all this? Here's a simple place to start. First, if you haven't already, add your physical credit card to your digital Apple Pay or Google Wallet. Get in the habit of using Tap to Pay wherever it's available. Just open that digital wallet, click on the plus icon, and go through the steps to add your credit or debit card. Second, check whether your bank offers virtual card numbers. Many of them quietly added this feature in the past few years, but won't hand them out unless you specifically ask for it. In the US, there are a handful of banks that offer virtual cards. I mentioned some of them earlier, but the good news is that a lot of international banks are adopting this as a payment feature, so check to see if yours does. And third, if you want the most control, consider using a dedicated virtual card service. For US residents, I recommend privacy.com or Clutch. And for those of you outside of the US, there are options like Wise or Revolut. Once you have a place to create virtual cards, go in and create a specific card for one of your subscription services like, Netflix or Disney Plus. If you can, it should be merchant locked with a limit that matches the cost of the subscription. In this way, you're not only securing the card against fraud, you've also protected yourself against unexpected subscription increases. Normally Netflix can just raise their prices and start charging your card without your consent. With a spend limit on a virtual card, that raised charge will be declined until you go in and decide that it's worth increasing the limit. Once you get used to the idea that every service can have its own credit card number, even the card that you keep on Apple Pay, it completely changes how you think about payments, especially online payments. Because the goal isn't just convenience. The goal is making sure that when, inevitably, some company somewhere gets hacked, your entire financial life doesn't go with it. And that is the future of payments. Not a plastic card with a number printed on it, but a system where every transaction gets its own secure credential.